Hello and welcome back. This is the quarterfinals of the MGM Game 2. We are watching the game of Fabian and Thomas.
I'm shuffling his deck, basically mentally preparing for the next game. I always hate being on the draw against blue decks because they have land go, I have land go, they have double blue up for counterspell. Basically, that happens, my game plan is kind of disrupted already, but it's not always the case, so...
Yeah, you basically have to overload the counters at that point, right?
Yeah, maybe fishing with some low impact spells if you're very sure they have a counter, so you can you can stick your better threats later.
The classic dance of control where there's, well, mid-range, where
Yes.
you can't actually get under them fully. And Fabian's hand was a lot to landlight, so he's mulliganing. Luckily, he's playing Highlander, so he's getting a free mulligan. Sim, do you remember why your hand was mulliganable?
I don't know. I don't know which cards I had actually.
All right. Also, here we are back again at the Highlander Shuffling Marathon. The one thing that is really annoying about the format is that it's the 100 cards mean you have to shuffle multiple times because, well, most people can't keep 100 cards in their hands and shuffle well.
Yeah, you have to develop a specific technique, I guess. Cutting the deck in halves in two halves is basically the first step to go, and then from there on you treat it like a normal deck.
Yeah, and then you shuffle the two halves back together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see if you both have a keepable hand now.
Yeah, the blood deck I play mulligans very often. I'd say about 30% of your starting hands are mulligans.
Well, that's a real lot, mostly because of mana issues or just for curve reasons?
Both, actually. But it's possible because of the free mulligan. So, because you have two shots at it, you basically have like 30% times 30% chance of going down to 6, which is something like 1 in 9, 1 in 10. And that's basically about the ratio you have in normal constructed Magic.
Yeah, that makes sense. And 6 isn't that bad. Like, once you hit 5, it's becoming complicated because you're really likely to lose any value wars, but as long as you stay with 6, especially with the scry, you should be fine.
Yeah, and especially with the scry on the draw, as is my situation right now, you don't often feel it, like you're down to 6.
Yeah.
Basically, if the game is very fast and very curvy, I'd say it's oftentimes even better than a blind 7 to have a little control over your last card, but only very minor. So
yeah, I still think I would just rather have the card in hand and draw the next one anyway.
Yeah, sure, because you can't guarantee that the game is so short.
Yeah. By the way, I think Fabian's hand here is pretty good. He's missing a white source to enable his Council's Judgment and the Wrath, but he has a cantrip to help with that. He has decent mana already in hand.
Yeah, his hand looks pretty solid, I'd say.
And as long as you hit the second black source, your hand is really solid too.
Yeah,
if you don't, you have stuff to do.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I most likely will open with the Treetop Village,
well,
which is not optimal with an elf in the hand, but I have to make do.
Yeah, I think the only thing that makes you open with the Scrubland here is drawing another black source on turn 1.
Yes.
Just to get
like turn to him to Tura, yeah.
And no, neither of the of Fabian's cards were white lands or more cheap elaborate manipulation, so he pushes both to bottom.
So there's an overgrown tomb, which is perfect because it's black and it enables my turn 1 pilgrim.
Yeah, perfect top deck.
Yeah.
Alright, he found his land. Let's see if you double sinkhole him with the Hymn to Torak, because he does not have counter magic, so what he's doing this turn is clearly a tap land.
I don't know if I agree with playing the tap land here tapped, because he basically says he has no counterspell.
Yeah, it might be worth just threatening it here.
Yeah.
Especially because you can use one of the fetch lands to get a shockland out of your deck too. So you don't really lose out much on getting rid of a tapped land.
Right. I have a very interesting decision here, I think, because I can play my Dark Confident and play a tapped land, which then would enable me the next turn to play Demonic Tutor and maybe something else.
Yeah.
Which is
I really
better.
like the him here though.
Yeah, it's better for curve reasons, but my hand is kind of. I'm really reliant on the Dark Confident, and I want to stick that. And the him could maybe get out, could get rid of a removal spell, could randomly mana screw him. Basically, what I want is to make it as likely as possible that my Dark Confident lives.
Yeah. Anyway, I like casting him as early as possible whenever you can. Basically, because the earlier you hit them, the more likely you are to just get some of those random him to Torok effects, like mana screwing them, or get all the business spells while they have a hand-heavy hand. That kind of stuff.
Yes. Basically, you want to cast it as early as possible, or when he has exactly 2 spells in hand. That's the perfect times.
Exactly. I really don't like that Arc Trail either. I think you're supposed to deck Fate in there.
Yeah, we talked about this, me and Fabian, after the game, and he said he was afraid that when I hit 4 mana, I deploy a Planeswalker or something like a very powerful threat, and he wanted to take that ability away from me.
Yeah, but he has Constant's Judgment to Wrath in hand. Like,
yeah, sure. That's what he.
If it's a Planeswalker, deck Faden in 4 cards hopefully finds a land, a white one. So he cancels Judgment the Planeswalker, and if you play a creature, you just Wrath the elf and the creature.
I wholeheartedly agree by now, seeing his hand. In the end, this is very well for me because Arctrail would have been a blowout, getting Confident and the elf.
Yeah. Like, you set yourself up for so much Arctrail, and especially you get the deck Phaeton going. Getting your card draw going is so important.
Yeah, it was an additional reason the turn before to play him to Turok, because I know that Jessica is playing Fire Ice, Arctrail, Electrolyze, and maybe Fogbolt, which Fabian does. And I thought about it, opening myself to one of these 2-for-1s, and it was another minor nod to play the him instead of the Bob.
Yeah. And I mean, it worked out perfectly. You baited out his Arctrail. The him hit one of the lands, which he's now missing.
Yes. He really needs 4 mana to get going with his deck.
Yeah.
Only having 3 is hampering very much.
Yeah, especially he has only 1 white source, so basically everything but deck in his hand and now the newly drawn top are just dead.
Yes.
Like, this is another turn where you should just slam the deck.
I think so too. He has to just draw out of this mana shortage.
Yeah, I mean, it's really annoying to allow Dark Confident to live, but I think you can't just not deploy your Planeswalker when you have it. Like, deck is filtering you 2 cards deeper every turn. It's so much value, and it's quite rather expensive at 3 mana, so you want to get that out as early as possible.
I agree, and I have not the means to kill it right away. So he goes to 4 loyalty, and I have only 2 power on the board. So it's quite guaranteed to stick.
Yeah. Like, once you start making land drops, that Raging Ravine starts threatening the deck even. So, yeah, I'm really not very happy with how the last 2 turns went for the control deck.
No, I don't like it. Basically, he's playing and spinning the top and fishing for Lightning Bolt, Fogbolt, and Chain Lightning. Since it's 3 out of...
yeah, out of 100 cards, which doesn't...
Yes.
I mean, the deck would have died here to the Abrupt Decay, but that means you don't play another threat, and honestly, it already activated twice, so who cares?
Killing Dark Fate never feels very good when you have to invest a spell on it, because...
Yeah. Especially if it's stuck already for 2 turns. Like...
Yeah. So now my hand is pretty stacked right now. I have several options again.
This looks like a Liliana turn.
Yeah, sure.
Cards, he doesn't have any board.
He's out of counter mana, and Lily in play is very strong against basically every control deck.
Yeah, the ultimate is such a threat, and both players discarding is only good for the control deck if the board doesn't have anything on it.
Yes. One thing you learn when with the 4-color blood deck and Liliana is your cards are all very shiny and good and powerful, but most of the time it's just right to get rid of them and make them discard too.
Yeah.
Because every card of your deck can stand on its own, while the control deck basically has some draw spells, some removal spells. Every spell has a function, and your spells basically are multi-purpose, I might say.
Yeah. Your spells basically all, especially against the control deck, basically your removal is reasonably unimportant. You just tend to try stick a threat. So
yes.
you usually have cards that aren't that valuable, while the control deck needs its specific answers to the specific situations.
Right, right.
Like here, he can either discard the council's judgment. Like he's probably discarding the deck because he can't play it anymore, not for real, but he kind of needs it just to get through the top. But if he discards the Wrath, there's no answer for Dark Confident and whatever creature you drop next turn. And if he drops the Council's Judgment, like that's one of his few outs to Liliana. Like he can't discard that.
He can't discard it. It's basically not an option. I discard Dark Faden too, because by not playing him last turn, he basically now has no window anymore.
Yeah, he can't just spend 3 mana on deploying a deck when he knows the top cards don't actually help, because otherwise he would have flipped it.
Yeah. It's basically spending 3 mana doing nothing for a turn, and I'm generating value by ticking Liliana and having confident activations. He can't afford this anymore, and that's why I don't like the Sensei's Divining Top, because he already had not many lands to work with from the beginning. He now has to invest mana in the Sensei's Divining Top, which further restricts his ability to kind of get back into this game.
Yeah, I mean, having the top in play is fine. It's just it's so mana inefficient that turn.
Yeah. Basically,
what was going on there? Did he let the Liliana resolve and then try to use the top?
Yeah, it was kind of an ambiguous situation, because I activated Liliana and put a card besides her, and he kind of acknowledged that with his body language, and then went into the tank for like two or 3 minutes or something like that, and then wanted to activate top in response, but it was ruled that he already acknowledged that it's resolving, so he couldn't.
Alright, so now he knows he's drawing crappy cards with this, so obviously he decides he needs to deck, and then hopefully next turn get some there. I guess that's a line if both of the top cards are really bad, like the Brimaz is totally dead that he already drew, so the other cards are probably even worse.
It's Treasure Cruise and Brainstorm.
Well, Treasure Cruise is decent.
And that's decent.
Is, like, why would you... Alright.
I mean, Treasure Cruise can now draw him into a land source and a removal spell.
Yeah. No, by the way, just to figure this out, this is basically the cards he would have seen if he had decked earlier.
Yeah.
He would have already had these in hand. He could already have Treasure Cruise at this point.
I think it would have been so much. It would have been so much better. Deck would have seen more cards and be more mana efficient at the same time.
Yeah.
And I guess this is the turn that Dark Faden would die with my attacks. So
I guess you're probably deploying something else instead. Like, do you play Choke in this deck? Like, it kind of it feels like you should.
I have it sometimes, but
I mean, this would be just good game at this point if you choke him, right?
Like, yeah, right.
I don't see any way he gets out of this.
Yeah. But that's the thing with Highlander. You have no sideboard. Your choke has to be basically good against every deck, and then there are the red decks and the Artifact Tolarian Academy decks, which even don't run any islands, and the 4-color Blood Mirrors and something like that. And choke is just not doing anything at all. I feel like you can't afford to play this card if you don't predict the meta perfectly.
I guess. Well, the thing is, it's 100 cards, and having like 1 or 2 dead cards that win some matchups outright seems interesting to me. I'm not sure how far the Highlander community has explored this.
Yeah, I agree with you. Maybe when you run cards like Dark Fate and Brainstorms and Jace the Mind Sculptor, which can get rid of those dead cards, then it becomes more attractive. But the 4-color Blood deck basically has to live with every card it draws.
Yeah, I see. Well, there's the Demonic Tutor.
Yeah, again, Demonic Tutor.
At this point, what is it getting?
It's getting Wasteland again.
Yeah, that seems likely.
Yeah,
You
I'm
already
basically.
played a land though.
I played a land, but I might get it nevertheless. I actually don't remember what I got with it, but Wasteland next turn seems good also.
Yeah, Wasteland seems good. Dust Bolt seems insane again, by the way.
True. I have two Planeswalkers, double Sorin in hand, so my next turn is very likely deploying a Planeswalker, and I want to do something else with the card I tutor now. So
Yeah, Wasteland
Wasteland
seems
is an
good.
option because it's very cheap, and I want to just establish the stranglehold on the game. I'm basically
Yeah,
very far ahead and just want to secure that position.
yeah. I think if you get to Wasteland him again, I don't think there's a way back in. Like, I really don't see it because he can hit the white source again. If he doesn't draw a white source here, that's probably just it. If you're actually getting Wasteland.
Yeah. Even if it does, what is he killing with the Council's Judgment? Liliana, because he has to.
Yeah, well,
Um,
Liliana because he has to.
yeah, and then he has given up his whole turn, is tapped out again. I have manlands in play,
The Dark
again
Confidence is
pressure.
going, yeah. I think it might have been interesting here because he has at such a. I know you killed the deck with it. No, don't listen to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Weston is such a mean card.
Yeah, especially because Demonic Tutor lets me get it at the most opportune time. You know, sometimes it's just a land, but here I have really the Swiss Army knife answer for the situation.
Yeah. Well, at least he gets to Treasure Cruise now. This is something like Ancestral Recall is something that can get you bring you back in a lot of weird games.
True, it's basically mandatory for him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously treasure cruising because why wouldn't he? It's the only thing that can somehow get him back.
Yes.
What would he need? A white source here to get rid of the Liliana is a good start.
Yes. He has to get rid of the Dark Confident sometime soon.
Yeah, as soon as possible. But I think the Liliana is it at 5 or 6 now?
I believe it's at 6.
If it's at 6, I think he has to get rid of it now. He can't take another Stone Rain.
No.
But if it's at 5, it might make sense to hope for a removal spell here, so you can take out the Dark Confident, then deal with the Liliana next turn. Well, he found the plains. And the Ajani is pretty decent at killing the Dark Confident next turn, so he councils here, get rid of the Liliana, then the Ajani the Confident next turn, and hope that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, Ajani would die to Treetop Village attacks, but at that point, my board would be rather empty.
Yeah, at least at least he's stabilized at that point.
Yes, right? he gets back life. The game will go on for a while, so I guess it's not the worst he had drawn. I reveal Anafansa with my Confident, Wasteland in hand from Demonic last turn, and I drew Shambling Vent. I have an interesting decision. I thought about it for a while. I can play Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. Basically, usually getting a Planeswalker against a control opponent is very good, especially he has his counter shields down.
Yeah, I like Sorin here. That way you also don't expose yourself to a Wrath.
Yeah. My reasoning is different, though. If I recall correctly, I play Anafansa. And that is because he's at 16 life, and I want to present a good clock to end this game. Because for him, several things have to go very right. So he has to have the fourth land. He has to have a Wrath. And I don't think it's very likely he has it. Especially because I have now wasted another land of his. So.
Well, if you're actually deploying the Anafansa, in that case, I don't like Wasteland on the red source. I definitely think it should have gone on the second white.
Because of a Wrath effect, yeah. I thought about that too. But I kind of couldn't get around taking the red source and stripping him of his color entirely. Also, I have 3 manland.
I just think if you waste the red source, you should play the Planeswalker. Okay, well, stripping the red source worked out fine because he has now drawn a red removal spell. And yeah, Kitchen Finks is getting deployed. That seems not that good against an active Anafansa. But
no, basically. Not good at all. He has no good blocks. Can't get it back with the persist trigger because of Anafenza. Um, yeah,
Like,
basically he's very far behind right now. Again, I will start being able to pressure very hard now with the raging. Oh no, raging Arena. Do I have a red mana? No, I don't have a red
you only
mana.
have the Ravine for red mana, I think, but
Yeah,
you
but I
have
have.
you have Sorin, so you can now decide if you want to try offer the trade with Dark Confident or just slam with the Anafenza and then play Planeswalker, make another
Yeah,
2, make a mana elf.
I'm actually interested in what I've done. I can't remember exactly.
You even have the Treetop Village to put on even more pressure.
Yeah, I'm sticking to the confident. I think this is 8 damage, so he has no good blocks at all. If he doesn't block, he's down to 8, which is basically just another attack by those two. So 1 turn clock. If he blocks, he loses his kitchen things for nothing.
Yeah, I like this attack. It puts on the most pressure. You keep your Dark Confidence, so he basically has to kill the Anafenza and the Confident next turn. So he basically has to Wrath, which means you can swing in with the Treetop again for 4.
Yes, and even not blocking doesn't feel good from his side. He would go down to 8 against
Yeah,
my board, which
yeah.
is
So
scaringly low.
yeah, but he kind of has to, I think,
Yeah,
because otherwise the Dark Confident can come in again. Like this way, at least if he draws a red source, he has a removal spell and then can jump block next turn.
yes. I guess he it's playing to his outs to not block. Maybe he just has to not block.
Yeah, I mean it would be different if he has the Wrath effect in hand, because if he has the Wrath, he can top deck the White Source, or if he has the White Source, he can top deck the Wrath. But
He has to
given
top
that,
deck both, which he
yeah,
can't.
exactly.
True.
Like he might get a spot removal spell for the Anafenza on the next attack, and then block the Dark Confident, suddenly block the Dark Confident or the Treetop Village and gain the life, and that might help. Like
Yeah, sure.
he's very low on outs here anyway. Like,
True.
I think his best option here is probably to drop the top and hope he finds a Terminus.
Yeah, actually, that is the one card I'm very scared of. I guess just the next turn because I just jam with everything. Um, and if you would find Terminus, like getting rid of my manlands and my attackers would really be a blowout.
Yeah. Well, you draw the red source, so you have the Ravine for backup from now on, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I guess I have mana now to activate Treetop and
And play something if you.
Shambling Went, I guess.
Well, I guess there's no point in activating more than just the Treetop, just because it's exactly 12 with the Underfencer trigger. And if he has removal, well, you play Planeswalker and and can activate Raging Ravine next turn. Like I think the safest thing that can actually beat Terminus is exactly that line. Like attack with with the Ravine and the 3 normal creatures.
Yeah. I guess I activate both, nevertheless.
I guess you didn't think about Terminus.
It crossed my mind, but I thought it rather unlikely, and I'd rather play around a removal spell, buying him more time if I do not maximize my damage.
Well, the thing is,
But
it's
maybe too greedy. I agree with you. I should have attacked with only one man land.
like it usually doesn't matter here, but if he had the Terminus, I think you might actually have fallen behind in this game, especially because he can't drop anything here.
Yeah.
Like if he Terminuses this and looking at his hand, slams the Ajani next turn, keeps the Ravine tapped.
Yes, I might lose from that point.
Yeah, he could actually have come back here.
It requires specifically Terminus, though.
Yeah, it requires.
But yes,
yeah,
your point still stands.
like I'm just wondering if there's anything else he could have hit here, but I don't see anything. Well, I guess his swords gives him a turn, but that should probably have hit before the attack.
I guess he has Path to Exile. If I recall correctly. I'm a little nervous when he cracks the top and reveals the top card, and it's a white card for 1 white mana.
Yeah, so Path buys him a turn.
But he has to redraw top from there, and
Yeah. I also think the land you got here from the path was not right. You should have gotten the mountain.
there's no mountain in the deck.
Oh, all right. Your deck doesn't even have a single basic mountain.
No, because it's really your splash color, your off color.
Yeah.
The mountain doesn't cast like Voice of Resurgence or Anafenza, so it's a really bad land in the deck.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and he agrees that he doesn't have any outs anymore. So
Yes. So that was the game.
that's the game. And that's the quarterfinals. See you for the semis.
See ya.